The bell's been rung. Out in the dark, among the stars, the god is dead.
I had a dream. Almost like a premonition. I think there's an attack coming.
My lord, this world will fall.
They said the age of heroes would never come again.
It will. It has to. We live in a society where honor is a distant memory. Isn't that right, Batman?
Hello and welcome to another fan critical podcast. Today, this is actually a weird situation that we actually all find ourselves in. We're discussing a film that we've already dissected once before in podcast form.
Yeah.
Some say this is the way that we really intended this podcast to be presented to the audience, but it just took us, several years perfecting the format. And then there was an online campaign, which obviously, hashtag release the fan critical podcast was going, and now it's here.
I think that was just a bot, to be honest. I think that was just a bot.
Yeah, lots of bots. That voice that you hear is our very own version of Darkseid. It's John. How you doing, mate? Conquered any worlds recently? Or?
Barely conquered my own household, to be honest. So
there you go.
But it's interesting that I've gone from, the Dark Knight, the brooding Dark Knight is what you had me in the original podcast that we did. And now suddenly I'm the most evil person in the universe. So that's good.
Yeah.
Probably more accurate.
Yeah, that is good. It's the evolution of your character over the last few years. I think everyone will agree that you have, got a dark side to you, especially when it comes to reviewing films. Some say you're searching for the anti-film equation, but you don't know where to find it. So anyway, yeah, good stuff. This is good stuff. So yes, people who haven't twigged what we're talking about yet, we are talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is his true apparent representation, the way the film should have been presented to audiences, and not the Joss Whedon version. Now, a little bit of backstory. Let's just go through it for anyone who doesn't know what has gone on with this film. So essentially, during production, Zack Snyder, obviously there was a massive tragedy within his family and he was unable to finish production on Justice League. So DC and the studios felt that it was, they'd give it to a trusted pair of hands, as you'd say, in Joss Whedon, who helmed the Avengers Assemble movie. To much critical acclaim. So everyone thought, we couldn't give it to anyone better to finish this film. The film came out. We reviewed it, as did obviously many other people. And critically, I would say it was panned. Would you say that is fair, John?
It's certainly accurate what you're saying. I thought it was unfair at the time, to be honest. I think it was...
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that.
Sorry.
We'll get to that. We'll get to your little reaction.
Getting annoyed already.
Getting annoyed already. Critically panned, and turns out that a couple of years later down the line, Zack wants to finish the film with his vision. They obviously shot a lot more than was in the original movie. The original movie ran around 2 hours 20-ish, I think. The theatrical cut.
I think it was less than 2 hours. I think
it maybe even was. And at the time, I think we all agreed that some of it felt very rushed. Because of this. The Zack Snyder version runs at 4 hours. So that's pretty insane, really. And what they've actually done with it is put it into 6 parts on HBO Max or whatever streaming service you use in different countries. So it's more episodic, and hopefully, and we'll tell you what we think anyway, hopefully tells a more coherent story. So, John, can you believe that this has happened, first and foremost?
No.
Can you believe it?
Are you trying to make a pun there or something? That's the second time you've had a go at saying, can you believe it? But no, I'll just leave that.
No, there's no pun involved. Just a simple question. Stop looking for meaning where there is none. Continue.
So, no, I mean, it's pretty unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, for a start, there were a lot of people that were speculating that the Snyder cut was just a fallacy. It wasn't a real thing. It didn't exist.
Yeah.
And I think maybe like for 18 months to 2 years after the bastardized version of the Justice League came out, you still had like hints to it, but no real like, does it exist? And then I think finally, it might have been one of the actors, maybe like Henry Cavill or someone like that.
Ray Fisher.
Potentially Ray Fisher. I mean, he was just looking to have a go at Joss Whedon. But anyway, so and then Snyder confirmed that that film that came out in the cinema was not my film. It was about 20% of footage. 20% of my footage was used, something like that. And everyone was like, "Oh, fucking hell!" Yeah. But obviously, there's no chance they're obviously gonna redo it because I mean, it bombed. I mean, certainly critically at least, and money wise, like I mean, look, it did all right, but not what they wanted it to do. They wanted it to be a fucking super hit,
mega hit.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the power of social media. You talk about like we live in a world where crowdfunding is, a very common thing, but very rarely do you get fans that have almost forced a studio to look at it and go, do you know what? This might be a decent vehicle for us. And obviously HBO Max were looking for some original content that like some of their team must have been analysing the social media hype around this Snyder cut. And someone's obviously had a word and said, does this actually exist and is it doable? Someone's given old Zaki a call and here we are. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I mean, it's not like we're not, director's cuts are not a foreign concept.
Definitely not.
But typically, I mean, very rarely would you get a film that hasn't done well that everyone's like, oh, there's going to be a director's cut of that. I mean, no one's going, oh yeah, what was that? What was that Disney film that just completely bombed? Like John something.
Which one?
What was it called?
What
was it called?
Do you mean like The Good Dinosaur, maybe, or something?
No,
that was pretty
hell.
shit.
Well, anyway, or imagine Pearl Harbor. Imagine someone was like, look, there's actually a director's cut of Pearl Harbor, and it's
who cares?
This director's cut is comparable to Saving Private Ryan. You'd be in tears watching this. Like, you'd still be like, no way, man. We're not doing that again. Fucking hell. Ben Affleck as well.
Probably the most famous one though is Blade Runner, which was critically not well received, and then did get the director's cut, the final cut, which is markedly better.
Was a cult hit though. Was a cult
hit. Yes.
Anyway, so the question was, can I believe it? I can't believe it.
Yeah, he sounds so shocked.
Yeah,
it's crazy stuff. Honestly, it is genuinely mental that this happened because of a Twitter campaign essentially, and just a bit of peer pressure. But HBO Max, very clever.
Where does it stop? Do we get to a point where, obviously, look, I think it's fairly obvious. I don't care if you've watched Game of Thrones or not, that everyone thought the last season, bar a couple of episodes. I mean, those last two episodes.
The first 3 episodes are good.
Yeah.
First 3 episodes are good.
Yeah.
Back end is terrible.
But those last 2 episodes are diabolical.
I know. Isn't it mad that 3 hours can undo 60 hours of good work? Isn't it mad?
Yeah. Well, yeah. But can you imagine, a couple of years from now, they're like, look, there's actually a much better version of this. And then they just did it.
Oh, honestly, honestly, there's been chat around Game of Thrones being refilmed, season 8 being refilmed many times, and I wouldn't bet against it, John. I genuinely would not bet against it.
Well, you've heard it here first, if it does happen.
You've heard it first. But let's move on to what we thought originally. So obviously, as I said, everyone, this is the re-edited version of the podcast that we brought to you 2 years ago. Over 2 years ago, one of our first ever podcasts was Justice League. Here's some of our thoughts. It was me, John, and Gareth. And here's some of our thoughts on what we thought of the original Justice League.
Every review that you read, or well, I'll say every review. So the good reviews are, yeah, it's a good film. And the bad reviews are, this is fucking awful. And I don't like the kind of the drasticness of the bad reviews. It's pissing me off, to be honest. So maybe because of that, I enjoy the film even more. Like maybe I'm being blinded by rage, but well, I look at, and I did this straight after the film as well. I was that annoyed. I started going through all of the Marvel films and some of the marks that they got on Rotten Tomatoes. The Incredible Hulk, 2008, so bad they just pretended it didn't even exist. 67% rated fresh. Iron Man 2, 73%. Ridiculous.
Yeah,
I'm raging.
It's raging. But so we can take from that you actually thought this film was, up there in terms of a superhero film. I mean, there's so many now. Obviously, there's so many comparisons we can draw. But you were happy with what they had done with this film.
Yeah, look, I enjoyed it. I think they've made too much of an effort to come away from what has relatively been quite a dark universe. Like, DC seems to have taken that kind of route of being a little bit more slightly depressing, and maybe that's the Zack Snyder effect. Obviously, you go back to the Watchman. Yeah. I mean, that is a depressing movie. I mean, it's fantastic, but it's relatively depressing. And I think maybe they have tried to be a little bit more Marvel this time around. I don't think that's hurt it. But they can't win. Can't win, man.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
Maybe I'm going to make John happy because I didn't like it, and but I didn't hate it. I would say it was like I'm going to give it a blanket kind of 5 out of 10 blueberries on the blueberry rating system.
Ah, yes.
But it's like, it's pretty bland. That was my problem with it. And a lot of the time you would rather a film that was terrible than a film that's just meh. And this film was pretty meh. I just found the threat was sort of stupid, nondescript, and undeveloped or underdeveloped. And the heroes were, I mean, I don't know. It's just, I think I could have written that when I was 7. Don't you think?
Jesus, you should be in Hollywood, mate. I'm going to fall in the middle of you two here. So I'm going to say that it was better than I expected. I think it should be certified fresh. I agree with John. I don't, at the moment, I think I looked earlier this afternoon and it was tracking at like 41% or something on Rotten Tomatoes. And that's a bit ludicrous. I mean, it's definitely better than that. I'd give it like 60. I'd give it like 61, 62% or something to be accurate. You can tell there's a lot of material that was sort of in this film that they've cut out of it to make it like 2 hours. Like, I think there might be like a director's cut of this coming out at some point, because there were just a couple of gaps, like Gaz said, that were sort of underdeveloped. Well, as you can tell there, listeners, one, we were very young when we started this podcast. You can tell. Two, the audio quality was abysmal, so we apologise for that. And 3, the blueberry scale clearly has evolved because Gareth gave it 5 out of 10 blueberries, which is fucking mental. Yeah. And yes, we've had to learn things along the way. We've made the blueberry system more refined. we've got it to a place now where we feel it is the most elite system in the critic world, John.
So, well, certainly any kind of review metric or barometer that uses fruit.
Agreed.
I don't think there's any other fruits that would be comparable.
Definitely not. And, you know, if you were to potentially tell the audience your opinion on the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League and Blueberry it, could you please do that for them now? Could you tell the audience what you think? Obviously, you were quite defensive.
I was defensive
towards the original. And you know, you referenced it there when you chatted about it, but to do with your rage, I think you were more angry at the fact that some Marvel films were getting even higher scores than Justice League, like Thor, The Dark World and shit like that.
Well,
and you felt slighted because you're a DC boy, really, deep down.
Well, look, I mean,
deep down, you're a DC boy.
If
you know,
well, look, I mean, if anyone that's kind of in their mid-30s, which is what I am, so factually still there, you'd have grown up on Superman and Batman. Like, no one gave a fuck about Iron Man. I don't care who you are. The only one, the only one of that group,
Stanley,
the only one of that group, you'd be like, I mean, Captain America,
Spider-Man.
but no, I'm talking about the
100%.
original Avengers group, right? They were just loads of like, oh, fuck off. Like, who gives a fuck about Black Widow? No one, right? I'm talking about people that grew up as the only one in that group where you'd be like, oh, fucking hell, is the Incredible Hulk. Like, absolutely.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
You know, he is, so yeah, of course, like if you got to be a DC boy, Superman and Batman, like, come on, but they are the best. I don't care what anyone says. So anyway,
they're the best ones.
They are the best ones.
They're the best ones. Yeah.
Hell. Look at the Christopher Nolan trilogy. It shits over everything else. But anyway. So maybe I am a DC boy, but bearing in mind, I think the point I was making back in the day is, I got very, very defensive because I feel like all of the DC films that were coming out, they were starting at zero, having to work their way up. Whereas some of these Marvel films, honestly, and look back, some of them have aged terribly. Like something like Iron Man 2 and 3, where it's like, well, look, the worst score this is going to get is 3 out of 5. And it's like, why? Well, why is it that it's got this divine right to be a good film unless it completely fucks up? Like, no. Like, the scoring, to me, was not fair. And I felt like, certainly back then at least, like no one can tell me Man of Steel is a rotten film. Like the stuff that it's trying to do in that, the emotional beats that it has, versus something like Thor: The Dark World, like fucking hell, like Kevin Costner is his dad in that. Like that tugs at the heartstrings, man. I really enjoyed it, and yeah, some of the fighting is a bit stilted because it's fucking Superman. Like he can't be hurt. But even still, like, do I recognise that Justice League 2017 was a great film? Absolutely not. So what I was trying to say is it's not a terrible film. And obviously I haven't watched it since, and look, let's be honest, it's pretty poor. But yeah, I mean, I just got overly defensive back then. Because I felt like it was a bang average film. It's one of those where it's like you go to the cinema and it's like, yeah, okay, fine. A bit like Avatar, it's just a bit nothing to me, at least. So anyway, so now we come back to the future, and there's a little bit of a build up to this. So let's analyze the whole scenario here. You've got a guy in Zack Snyder who it's obviously his dream to make this Justice League film. He's making the film that he wants to make, regardless of what people thought of Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman. He's persisting. He's bringing all these characters together. He's worked his bollocks off, let's be honest. If you look at this film and what they've done with it and the characters they've introduced and the storyline that they go down, like he's worked his arse off on this. His daughter passes away during filming, so he leaves the filming. Loads of people speculate that he's been fired because the film's shit. That's what happened at the time. Now, he has to sit there, 4 years pass, or 3 years, And everyone is like, yeah, it was terrible. Don't do that. Don't remake that. Blah, blah, blah. Zack Snyder, he's basically ruined the DC universe. It's all his fault. So he has to sit there as a creator, as an artist, on his dream project with all the stuff that's going on in his personal life, people shitting all over him. He gets an opportunity to make this film. And, I mean, fucking hell, basically driven by fans and this belief that there's a better film there. There's a lot of stuff that just doesn't make sense. And as you said, I mean, the original one was rushed to fuck. So we then get this film and I'm sitting there and genuinely I'm like, please be decent. Like, if he does a 4-hour film and it comes out, it gets battered and panned and gets the same Rotten Tomatoes score as the last one, I'm going to be devastated. So I'm going into this like sitting there going, right, okay, where are we going with this? And the intro, immediately, I'm like, thank fuck we're not dealing with Henry Cavill in a fucking a mobile phone camera shot where he's got a massive lumpy lip because Joss Whedon has decided to bring him back and try and rub his tash away because of a dispute with another film studio. It's fucking ridiculous. Anyway, so we have a blueberry system, and I'm happy to say that for me, I would give this film 4 blueberries. That's what I would do. And nice. But more importantly, like, fucking people should be looking at Zack Snyder and apologising, because fuck me, like, the difference in quality of the two films. And yeah, I can accept there's loads of stuff that you could still go, yeah, I'm not happy with that. And there are some people that I know are like, yeah, I didn't like it, or I thought it was average at best. And I can accept that because I know that critically it's done very, very well. Fans are fucking loving it. It's got like an audience score of 96% with over 20,000 reviews already. Like, so he got to make the film that he wanted to make. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Is it too long? Yes. Are there some problems with it? Yes. And we'll talk about Jared Leto later. But other than that, I loved it. So 4 bloobs from me.
Wow. And there you have it. Zack Snyder has pleased our very own Darkseid. I knew you would like this version of the film.
I like quite dark films.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. So when this was first announced, I was certain that it was going to be terrible. I was absolutely certain, and this is no offense to Zack Snyder, because I do like some of the things that he's done. Like, I like 300 a lot. I think there's a lot in that. It's very stylistic, and it's a great film to watch, when you just need a bit of fire in your belly. You need to be pumped up a bit. Love that film. Watchman, which me and you love. I actually think he did a fantastic job with Watchmen. I think that's a very good film. It's one of my favourite superhero films. Because as anyone knows, we did the Watchmen Watchers podcast. We love that universe, but the actual film, I think Zack Snyder did a fucking good job. I think it's very stylish. Sorry, I think the actors are very good. I think the characterization's very good. Yes, there's some changes from the graphic novel, but they're not, not massive changes. I think it did a very good job, and I was very happy. Batman vs Superman, one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life. I think an absolute travesty of a film, and I will say that this film cannot escape some of the problems that were just it inherits so much baggage of that shit film that I think it's always going to struggle, no matter what remake you do with this cut. However, I sat down and I watched this in one sitting, and fuck me, it is so much better than the theatrical cut that I was like, wow, okay, for once, you hear about these things, directors saying, oh, my vision wasn't realised. Well, yeah, I'll tell you something, Joss Whedon did a fucking terrible job with the film after watching this. And I like Joss Whedon. I mean, I like him in terms of Buffy and in terms of Avengers, but, none of us really like Joss Whedon anymore because apparently he's a bit of a dick. But, in terms of writing and the way he puts together stories, he's always done a good job. But I have to say, he left some fucking mental things on the cutting room floor. For some no apparent reason, reshot that crazy moustache scene that you talked about, John, and some other stuff, and I'm just like, what the fuck why? Like when some of the stuff was already done, you know. So a couple of things. Sorry, Zach, for thinking you made a shit film in the first place. You're right, John. I should apologise because even though everything went on, I still put a lot of blame onto his shoulders. I think the film is much more coherent now. I think the villain has more motivation. I think the level of peril and danger is better realised and feels to me like I actually felt the weight of what these characters were going through. Ray Fisher's character of Cyborg is completely changed to the point where, thank fuck, he's got a backstory now. Yeah, he's still a bit morose and depressed, but that's his character in this film. Like, that's just the place he's at. You know, it made more sense. The sort of extended universe stuff is very fan servicey, but at the same time, it's building to something.
Yeah.
Whether or not we ever see that something is another question. But I found this film so much more enjoyable. There's a couple of weird decisions, like the 4:3 aspect ratio, which we'll get onto, I'm sure, and the 6-part idea was very effective, actually, as a storytelling device. Like when it broke, it had these sort of, you know, cut to black, next title fades up, kind of episodic.
Oh, it's like a comic.
It reminded me, and you're going to find, yeah, but John, you're going to take offense to this, but you know what? Just because of the 4:3 aspect ratio and the way it was, it reminded me of The Stand, but the original Stand that we've reviewed actually before, the Stephen King biopic, obviously, or epic, sorry, Stephen King epic. And basically, it reminded me of that because it was 4:3. Some of the CG was terrible in this film, which is fine, but it made it feel like a TV movie at times. You know, there's better CG in some TV shows now than what is in this film. And I think that is fair to say, especially some of the stuff where they have tried to redo the CG. And the way it sort of told the story felt very TV movie to me, but it worked because I actually think this story needed 4 hours. It could have done with another hour. Who fucking knows? Like, you know, there's still more character stuff that I feel could have been better. You know, like the Flash, he's got more to him. Come on. And also a bit more to Aquaman, which I know we now have with the Aquaman movie and the Wonder Woman movies and stuff like that. But at the time, obviously we didn't. So, yeah, for me, it's a big improvement. It's obviously not a 5 Blueberry film because I still think there's a lot of stuff going on that doesn't necessarily work 100% in my vision of the DC universe. Okay, but I'm going to give it a 4 Blueberry score. I think that's a very good score. I probably would have given the original one 2. You know, so this is a double improvement in my eyes, and I think Zack Snyder's done a fantastic job. And later on, we can discuss whether or not this has paved the way for the DCEU, you know, Apocalypse War, Nightmare stuff to actually occur, which will be very interesting. Because I can tell you something, the way that critics have been talking about it, the way the fans have been talking about it, the way that it's in the sort of, you know, popular culture, sort of, it's having its moment kind of thing. I think there's definitely going to be a discussion at HBO Max about that. Maybe buying the rights, who knows. So yes, that is our thoughts on Justice League in terms of overall. We're going to have a quick advert and then we're going to jump into some of our highlights of the Snyder Cut. Hello, yes, it's the advert section. Very short advert. Just want to say that obviously during COVID, it's been difficult to have new content because there's not been that much that's come out that we've really thought, you know what, this deserves to be reviewed. You know what I mean, John?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I agree. I can't be asked to do anything. Yeah.
So obviously we've come up with the How the Fuck Have You Not Seen That series, an absolute smash hit with you, the listeners. So glad you're enjoying that. We've just released Avatar a few weeks ago. We've got Train Spotting coming up. So, you know, keep supporting us so that we can come up with more original content. And I will say this, little spoiler warning. Yeah, we have got some great original content ideas coming up. The Fan Critical brand will be reforging into a new weapon. Some say, you know, like Thor's axe, You know, he's lost Mjolnir. He's got Stormbreaker. So
I prefer Mjolnir though.
Mjolnir. Yes.
Mjolnir.
So please do support us because there's loads of great stuff coming up. The best way to support us is obviously to subscribe, but you can also give us some monies to think up these great ideas and also help us towards hosting costs, equipment costs. This isn't our full-time job. So any support is, greatly appreciated. And we have a new Patreon today. Shalini, thank you very much for signing back up to Patreon. You've returned to us. You left us for a little while. You've come back. You've come back because you loved the Avatar podcast recently that we did, John. She loved it.
Isn't her name Shalani? Because I remember when she was a Patreon before she left us. And
never leave us.
Yeah, never leave. But we will take you back.
Never leave. We will definitely take you back.
I think it was mentioned that it was 100%. Yeah. Well, no, because I think the reference to her name was Colony, or as the Americans would say,
Colony. Yes.
Colony. So Shalini.
Correct.
Shalini.
Yes, John.
Yeah.
Fantastic memory. So yes, Shalini. Thank you very much for the support, and we are thrilled that you love the Avatar podcast. You know what happened the other day, John? Someone said to me, I love how the fuck have you not seen that series? The Avatar one was hilarious. You didn't talk about Avatar at all, really.
Well, yeah.
And then I said, no, but we did talk about Small Soldiers for 10 minutes. So
bloody good film.
Who's the real winner?
I think we should do it.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we should do it. I mean, personally, ever since we've had that podcast, I've been sitting there thinking, I need to watch Small Soldiers again. What better time? So yes, do check out Avatar Podcast. Shalini, thank you so much for your support. Joining the Patreon it's great to have you back. And for anyone else who wants to support us financially, you do get stuff for your money. I promise we've got new content ideas coming out in the next month or so when we reforge Fan Critical into a bit more of an original content brand, a bit more of our own ideas. We've got some great things in the works. So please do go to patreon.com/Fan Critical and throw some bucks our way. We'd really appreciate it.
Maybe we should go back and do like Snyder cuts of our old podcasts. Yeah. Just make one of our hour podcasts a 4 hours one instead. Be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, would be good. A lot of work for me, but yes, we will consider that, John. Yes. So listeners, if you want more work for me, if you want me working till the late hours here in Australia, forging new podcasts, re-editing them, director's cut, the Len cut, the John cut. If you want that, let us know.
The John cut is what they want. Where nothing's cut.
Oh,
it's all
God.
left in.
Nothing's cut. All left in. Loads of garbage. Lots of ums. Just leave ums in the podcast. No, anyway. Yes, enough of this garbage. Let's go watch Small Soldiers. No, just kidding. Let's go talk about Justice League again. Yay. So, John, here's what I've done. I've decided that the way we're going to talk about the Snyder Cut is to basically say your favourite changes, from the theatrical to the Snyder edition. So I've got some bullet points here, and I want to see if there's anything additional that you feel that I've missed. But I thought I'd kick it off with just saying, for me, the number one thing that came out of this edition was the cohesiveness of the story. Darkseid, and now being featured, made Steppenwolf and the whole sort of peril a lot more not relatable, because that's a mental thing to say, but a lot more sort of well realized and effective. As as a viewer, I felt like, okay, fuck, this is some serious shit that's going down right now. Yeah, you love Darkseid, don't you?
It's bloody good, and that bit where you get to see him using his little undodgeable beam. I mean, that was fucking awesome as well.
Oh, yeah. That is cool. But the backstory, though, did you enjoy the gaps that were filled in here? Because, my partner was watching it with me, and she's not really seen any of the other DC films. and I felt like I was worried getting her to watch this film with me, because I was like, there's just so much that they're just hoping that in the last one, and it just goes all over the place. That this one I felt was cohesive enough that she was actually understanding the fuck was going on. You know?
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I mean, I'm the same. Me and Michelle watched it, and as it began, I was like to Michelle, "Do you remember where we're at in terms of the story?" And she was like, "Superman dead." And I was like, "Yeah, correct. Right, now begin." And then obviously they do that at the beginning anyway. Look, in terms of kind of, you talk about the cohesiveness of the story, and you're absolutely spot on. But it's just the film has more heart. Like, you give a shit about more of it. It's not just who's this wise quipping like guy, and then the film's finished, and it's like, well, I don't really care about him, to be honest. Yeah, he was all right, and yeah, I'm talking about the Flash. But look, it's I'll let you read off your list, otherwise we'll be here all day.
Yeah. So you're right. Heart is definitely true. Characters like Lois, I felt were, better served in this film. I felt even Superman in his revival, I actually felt his character a bit more. Even though I still feel that's very rushed, that whole moment, that whole bringing someone back to life, and then them sort of being a bit confused about what's going on, and then he's fine and saving the day. Still feel that's too rushed.
Well,
but
yeah,
there was a couple of extra scenes in there where I was like, okay, there's a bit more breathing here, a little bit more room to grow, and understand what's going on. Not enough, but you're right. There's more heart.
Yeah. So, but even the whole planning of it. So before it was just Batman and Wonder Woman having an argument about whether it's a good idea to bring him back to life, and it's like, how have they even got
yes
here? Whereas now it's
how
like,
have they
okay,
got there?
so you've got the two people that actually know what they're doing or talking about in Flash and Cyborg, and it makes more sense. And kind of, so okay, so it's like, if you're cheating in a maths test, as long as you can show your workings, okay, fine. And that's what they do here. They show their workings. And it actually, I felt when I watched that bit, and then you get Cyborg do the little hologram of Superman coming back, I was like, oh, that's quite cool. I'm excited. It's good.
Yeah, I felt like the characters had more realistic interactions. Like, they actually discussed things instead of in the last one just quipped at each other quickly, and then they were into an action scene, and then they just wanted you to make the leap with them. Like, oh yeah, that's fine. That makes total sense. It made no sense. Cyborg, you mentioned him there. Definitely the most profitable character from this cut, in terms of he just has so much more screen time. And his relationship with his father is better realised. You get the backstory of what happened to his character. Ray Fisher was very vocal about how he felt his character was treated on set by Joss Whedon, and also just in the edit, and completely justified, because fuck me, there was a lot of material that wasn't used. And this is the thing: you have the Avengers, who have all had standalone films, barring like Black Widow and Hawkeye, but those who have featured heavily in several other of the movies, like Iron Man 2 and the Captain America film and all this sort of stuff. And basically, to just have a character thrown in there, like at the time, Cyborg, Aquaman, and the Flash, half the fucking team, and you have like 2 scenes with them. Yes, it was shit, because what's going on here? This Cyborg is fucking mentally powerful because he's built from the mother box, right? But there's just no context to that in the previous version. It's just fucking insane. Like, whereas here, I felt that, we actually got some of his character. Yes, he's depressing, but he's the most improved player. Correct, John?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like, that his story makes sense. Like, when you see the flashback to him, and then where it leads, like, so obviously he's playing American football, and he gets the ball. He's the running back, and he's there to make the touchdown to win it for his team, and that's exactly what this film is. It's him rediscovering himself and accepting himself, and then by the end of the film, he's like, give me the ball. That's the story. Give me the ball. Like I'll win it for the team. I'm not just some random robot guy who no one gives a fuck about. Like I'm actually in this for a reason. But so before I go mental and just start kicking the shit out of Joss Whedon, there's a couple of things here. One, did Joss Whedon go, "Oh, I'm not happy with this because he's too much like Iron Man, so I'm just going to get rid of him"? And then did he go, "Well, Steppenwolf basically being, a field salesperson whilst the boss is calling him up saying what's going on, that's a bit too much like Avengers in the whole Loki and Thanos.
And
so
Thanos
maybe he's not, no, get rid of that. It's too like Avengers. Maybe it was that.
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh, actually, what else from Avengers can I take that is acceptable? Just inserting random humour in random places. Like, I was buzzing that they cut the fucking... Because the problem was, all the humour in the last one is forced humour, and it relies on the actor being able to carry that off. Like watching Aquaman sitting on the fucking lasso of truth. And it's like,
oh yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, get rid of that. That's stupid. Like,
forgot about that.
This is very serious stuff now. Talking about bringing back Superman. Honestly, Joss Whedon, he must have sabotaged this on purpose, because it's not. I mean, look, I wasn't a massive fan of Buffy, but I can accept that the guy is talented.
I am.
Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I can accept that the guy is talented. I look at his last film and it's like, what's happened here? What has happened? You have got to have gone out your way to sabotage this film. So that's it. That's my Joss Whedon rant over, because I don't want to talk about him.
Nice. There you go. So you're right completely. Cyborg is the most improved player. Here's some things that I loved. Okay, the end sequence before the epilogue cut all of the shit with this random Russian family that lived in the city and trying to rescue them.
Yeah.
That was garbage, right? That's gone. Not only that, it's more visceral, more violent. In terms of it's real, like realistic, like you got Wonder Woman like literally slicing heads off. You've also got Darkseid, who definitely should have been featured in this end sequence. It's mental to me, when we didn't get more Darkseid in the original cut, and that the heroes lose, and you get Flashpoint, which is a massive thing in the DC universe. Now, my favourite DC things that have happened outside of the Nolan Batman trilogy and arguably the Joker standalone film, and I'm very excited for the Batman standalone film with what's his face in it, because I think that's going to be a fucking good film.
Robert Pattinson. I
think that's going to be a fucking great film. Kind of fucks up this whole universe a bit, but whatever. I love the animated stuff. Apocalypse War recently was the best DC thing I've seen for years. I love how dark and brutal that world was. Flashpoint, another thing that obviously gets used here, where the Flash, when the heroes lose, travels faster than the speed of light to reset history and time, is a very comic book trope thing that has been used to save many alternate dimensions of Earth in the DC universe. But you know what? It's fucking great that we got it. The Flash gets more to do here. Cyborg gets more to do here. And it's not just Superman coming back and fucking absolutely destroying Steppenwolf. Right? Did you enjoy the ending of this film much more, John? I felt it. I felt emotional watching this. I felt like on the edge of my seat watching this.
Yeah, I mean, so the one thing that I kind of feared at the end of this film is that I was sitting there thinking, okay, so this Snyder cut is going to mean that I see more of the characters and I give more of a shit about the ending, but it's still going to be the same ending. Like, the outcome is still going to be the same. They're still going to get there in the same way. No. Like, honestly, I mean, can you imagine being the fucking guy that plays, what's his name? Ezra Miller, maybe? Something like that.
Ezra Miller, yeah.
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 Imagine him.
Flash.
He goes from saving the world by going back in time or turning time back on itself. Yeah, so that's what he signed up for. He films that. They then go, actually, fuck
and then
that.
he races
What
Superman.
we're going to do is we're going to get rid of that. So you say 3 random people we've never heard of that we've just added to the film, and then just have a little race for Superman at the end.
It's terrible.
Like, what the
it's
fuck?
so bad.
I'd have been all over Twitter. I'd have been like, honestly, my character's way better than this. If you'd have actually seen the what I filmed, it was emotive. When he, like the bit where he gets shot, I'm like, oh fucking hell! Like, this is
the thing
what
about the
it
Flash.
does well. It takes characters that are seemingly quite vulnerable, because you're never really worried about Superman. He's fucking just come back to life, for fuck's sake. But the rest of them,
silly.
like, use them. So when he got shot there, what I actually thought was going to happen is he would do the thing to turn back in time and then just fucking disappear and be removed and just go to some random timeline or something and sort of sacrifice himself. That's what I thought was going to happen. And then obviously he just comes back. So, well, no, because we need to get the shot at the end. Honestly, I had goosebumps when he went back in time, or when he turned time back on itself. I couldn't believe that they'd gone in that direction. But more than that, I could not believe that Joss Whedon cut it. That is a travesty that he cut that.
But then there's also other things that baffle me about this whole end sequence. Like, it's amazing when you have Superman. I felt like there was more of a team vibe here. Like, everyone was sort of bouncing off each other, like the Avengers did. But he sort of removed a lot of that from the end sequence. But then also, like, when Diana, decapitates Steppenwolf and the head flies back through to Apocalypse and where Darkseid is.
Yeah.
And you have that scene. I was like, why did they have it before where, like, I think Steppenwolf, like, got eaten alive by his flying parademons.
You know why, though, didn't you? Because in the Whedon cut, which was...
PG.
Yeah, so... But also, it's like, these are our heroes. They're not supposed to, decapitate this fucking guy. So he gets swallowed up by his own demons. No. Is basically what they've.
Yeah, I will say this about that, because I know a lot of people out there still have a lot of issues with Zack Snyder's take on certain characters like Batman and Wonder Woman. The Wonder Woman character actually is very much at odds with the one that exists in her own standalone film. So I will say that about it. Especially this one, who is literally killing people left, right, and centre, especially in the bank scene. Dead, you're dead.
Well, they were terrorists trying to kill kids, so...
I know, but still, it's not her character. But, Batman as well famously doesn't shoot people, and happy to kill anyone in the last couple of films he's been in. So I understand people are annoyed about that sort of stuff, and that's fair enough. But this is Zack Snyder's vision. If it's not for you, it's not for you. I quite like a darker, grittier take on it. We've got the Marvel universe, which has its dark moments, don't get me wrong, but I love Marvel stuff for what it is. I want something different. I want something a bit darker, because I've already got the sort of more, I love Marvel so much, as you all know, but, I've just been watching WandaVision, love that. Captain Falcon and Winter Soldier, first episode, very good. Like, they're great at what they do, but I'm happy with the darker shit, like the Watchman universe was, darker.
Well, can you imagine?
Sometimes
Can you imagine a Joss Whedon cut of the Watchman? Probably be about 4 minutes long.
No Rorschach. No Rorschach. Just get rid of him. Dr. Manhattan's green for some reason, and then they go, he's too similar to the Hulk, and then you're like, oh fuck, and then he's completely reshoots it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Fuck me. Anyway, so yeah, the ending was much better. I think it'd be good to talk about the epilogue. Now, a lot of people have problems with epilogues. I actually love them. Lord of the Rings, Return of the King epilogue is one of my favourite things ever. The film ends like 7 times, but I tell you something, I'm in buckets. Every time I see that film, I'm in buckets of fucking tears.
Yeah.
When Frodo leaves, spoiler warning.
Spoiler
just gets
warning
me every time
for anyone that's not seen that.
Yeah. Did you like the epilogue, John? Did you like the stuff we got here? A couple of highlights just to let you discuss them. Martian Manhunter, interesting. Also, the Nightmare Vision.
Yeah.
The Premonition.
Yeah. So, I like the Nightmare Premonition, and I thought it was fairly obvious that's what it was immediately. So I've seen some takes where it's like some people confuse what the fuck's going on for like 10 minutes. But Jared Leto is a terrible, terrible Joker. I don't care what anyone says. No one is convincing me that his interpretation of the Joker isn't dreadful. Honestly, it's terrible. He's caught between. It's like, is he camp? Is he menacing? He just comes across as that like douchebag that you went to uni with. That you like, you know, if it's like a fancy dress party, you're going to get 4 Jokers. He's one of them, and he's the worst one in the room. Like, he's terrible, man. He is terrible. His laugh, everything he's trying to do.
It's a shame.
It's like he's a good actor. Yeah. Oh my word, man. Yeah, but it's like,
sorry, that was actual audio from the.
like, even with and okay, I mean, it's not his fault that he's caught between 2 Oscar-winning performances in Heath and obviously Joaquin, and that again, they're very different interpretations because they've all had pressure. You know, when Heath was first cast as a Joker, everyone was like, well, he's never going to be like Jack Nicholson, and then he absolutely he nailed it, smashed it out of the park. You got Joaquin following up on Heath. Okay, he had a little less pressure because of Jared Leto's take, but it's still like, well, fucking hell, he's never going to be as good as Heath. Then he goes and wins the Oscar. So it's like there's room to do your own version of the Joker. It's just what he's decided to do is abysmal. It's terrible, man.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those questions as well. Do we place the blame on him, or is this a Snyder direction thing? It's tough to know. Like, you know, I think this Nightmare stuff is good, and it's my favorite part of the DC universe. Like, there's the Injustice story, which is where Lois dies. Spoiler warning: Lois dies. Batman, Superman, in his rage, decides no, humanity can't be trusted. It's actually Joker who kills Lois, and then basically decides to police the Earth himself, turning it into sort of he's a dictator essentially. Very dark, yeah. And it divides. Yeah, it divides the sort of Justice League into people who are trying to fight against his new regime. But this is a take on, you know, Lois being killed, and then the anti-life equation being used on Superman, who then essentially polices Earth for Darkseid. Also a riff on the Apocalypse War stuff, which if you haven't seen Apocalypse War, go check it out. It's on Netflix or whatever streaming service you use. I think it's on a few. Animated 2-hour film, very dark, absolutely brutal. Some of your favourite heroes are bad guys. Basically end of the world, end of the universe sort of stuff. But the stakes are awesome. The characters are great, and it's brilliant. So go watch that. And I'm excited. If you know, I want to see that movie. I want everything to go to shit, and I want people to die, and I want, you know, the thing about the heroes in the DC universe is they are godlike. They're more mythical.
Yeah.
They're overpowered. You know what I mean? Yeah. So when you see them, and this is, you know, Darkseid, who is the all-powerful in this universe, literally decapitating a lantern and shit like that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's some powerful stuff. Yeah. I want to, and it sounds grim, I want to see that shit. Yeah. I want to see our heroes literally brought to their knees, becoming slaves, and then having to fight back. That is awesome shit. That's like Endgame sort of level stuff, you know? So I want to see that. John, do you think we are going to get that now that the Snyder Cut is out? So let's just let everyone know the timeline of what's going on with DC. The next thing's coming out is the Batman, with a whole new Batman, Robert Pattinson, different time period, all that shit, right? It seems that the DC universe, stuff like Shazam, Black Adam, seems it's going in a different direction to what this offered up. It seems like this was a reset button a few years ago, and they went, right, let's just fucking redo some shit, and then we'll build up to another Justice League or something. What do you think now, John? Are we going to get Snyder back for a sequel?
I think all bets are off now that you've got someone like... I mean, there are so many big players now in on-demand television that are looking for their own original content, and it would be remiss of them to turn around and go, well, no, this was just a 1 gig deal. Like, they'll be monitoring how many people have subscribed to HBO Max, how many streams it has got across all of its licensing across the world, and they'll be sitting there thinking, do you know what, if we approach him, because Zack Snyder, I mean, he's made the film as it was supposed to be made. He's not going, oh, should I leave this fucking Martian fella, Manhunter, should I leave him in just for a laugh? He's going, no, I'm going to make it as if there was going to be a next film. So
that's right.
I would not be at all surprised to see a follow-on from this. And
I think it's going to happen, bro.
Yeah,
I think it's going to happen.
I think it would almost be surprising if it didn't happen now. That it's, again, look, let's not understate the fact we're talking about a film that's gone from 40% approval to 74%. That is an outrageous jump for effectively the same story. So yeah, do I think there's going to be another one? Probably. What I would say about DC is the thing that I like about them, they don't hamstring themselves. Like, you know, the Joker, there's pressure to link it to Batman and all that, but they don't need to do that. They can have these solo
and the
films
Batman.
that are just that's what I'm saying. Like, so they could do that. Obviously, Black Adam's going to do over $1 billion because The Rock's in it. Like,
There's The Rock's in it.
You know, he's a superstar. So
Shazam's also all right. Like, it actually did all right. Like, and I actually quite enjoyed that film. I think there's silly parts to it, but it's funny at times.
Yeah, so Shazam is like I mean, I have absolutely no interest in that character, and I thought the film was just, I mean, it's a popcorn flick.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not overly offended, but I'm never going to go, right, I need to get Shazam as part of my film collection, or in a film conversation. I'm never going to go, have you never seen Shazam?
That's awkward.
How the fuck have you not seen that?
I was sending you that as your birthday present.
But it's
special edition.
But the character himself, like, they can do Marvel stuff with him. So it's like, okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
They're servicing that type of audience.
Yeah. I think it's going to happen. I just think that now the momentum, if this had come out, and like I said, I thought it'd be shit, and I thought there's no saving this film. It's been saved. It's still not a masterpiece. Don't get me wrong. It's a very good film in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yes, it's 4 hours long. And it's not going to be for everyone. But I think what this has shown is there is a thirst for more. Now, whether that takes, an episodic turn, imagine a season of TV, like a 10 episode HBO show, which was, the fall of the Justice League or whatever the fuck you want to call it, Apocalypse War, Nightmare, whatever.
Well, I mean, we would definitely be podding on it. Tell you that for a start.
100%. But imagine that. I think 10 hours could do a story real justice. So, pardon the pun. So, I do think there's HBO Max. They've got money, man. Just do it. And I can see it happening. There's a lot of buzz around at the moment that people are asking for it, and Zack Snyder's not denying that it's a possibility. So that's exciting, and it's nice to have. And I will say this: like, the Marvel films are fantastic, and we love them to pieces. Especially, some of the standouts in that series, like the Winter Soldier, Civil War, Ragnarok, Endgame, and obviously Infinity War, which is the absolute standout in my opinion.
Infinity War is the standout, and I would say, for like 5-10 years from now, that to me will still be a 5 Bloob film.
100%. But if you look at DC and how messy it is, and it is messy, I think, in terms of the way that they have just gone about their films and their structure and trying to catch up to Marvel, everything. If you look at them and go, well, you know, let's be honest, like the Nolan Batman trilogy is arguably the greatest superhero trilogy that will ever be made. Plus, The Dark Knight on its own is arguably the greatest superhero film that's ever been made. Joker was an absolute revelation. Yeah. You know, they've got some fucking bangers in there, arguably higher rated movies.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to see what they do. They've got some clout now. They've got some weight behind their actions. I think the Batman, I'm very excited. The trailers are very good. I'm excited to see what's going on with Riddler. I'm excited to see some of this shit. I think that's going to be a home run. What's his name? Matt Reeves doing that one. He's good. I'm excited. So, you know, watch this space for DC. I mean, we love DC. We haven't covered it as much because I'm going to be honest that, you know, the Aquaman films and Wonder Woman, they weren't necessarily up our street. And that's just because, you know, we were more interested in Marvel stuff. But if DC starts climbing its way back with its more, you know, Justice League films, we'll be there.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll be there 110%.
Look, you say that. I mean, we did a whole fucking series on the Watchman. That's DC.
We did. Well, yes, okay. Watchmen I hold in a different bracket of sort of realistic superhero shit, even though it's got Mr. Manhattan. Jesus, Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah, doctor to you, mate.
Mr. Manhattan. Can I have an autograph, please, Mr. Manhattan? No. No, so yes. So stick around here at Fan Critical for more DC stuff. John, any final thoughts on Justice League before I give our listeners a lovely treat?
No, just look. I think this film is like a victory for not just Zack Snyder, but also like that artistic integrity. I remember seeing who was it? It was like an interview years ago with one of the guys that I think it was John Hurt actually about
legend.
The film Snowpiercer.
Great film.
Yeah. And he was raging at the fact that, I mean, okay, Harvey Weinstein, he's done far worse things now, you know, but back then, he pretty much canned off all of the marketing for Snowpiercer in the US to bomb the film because they wouldn't recut it how he wanted it to be recut. So he basically wanted it to fail.
Yeah.
Now, okay, that's a slightly different outcome here, but this is a victory for all artistic integrity. Like, let someone make what they want to make, and don't just fucking turn around and just. I mean, again, Joss Whedon, mate. He's got some. I mean, all right, he's going through the mill a little bit in terms of these abuse claims, but. And I'm not suggesting that. If he makes a 5 Blue film next that's going to rescue his career. But fuck me, if he does get through these abuse claims, I would love to see his hot take on this film. I would love to see it.
Oh, I think he's come out of this. I think he's having a very bad run at the moment. I mean, with all the, like you said, the claims and the people coming forward, but also the way Ray Fisher spoke about him, and the fact that this cut is now immeasurably better than what he did. He's in a bad place.
Well, here's the thing, Len. So there's obviously a Flash film, and obviously Cyborg was cut from that. Ray Fisher was cut from that film allegedly because of speaking out about his treatment on the set of Justice League by Joss Whedon, who he pretty much just called a bellend. I don't know if bellend translates in the US, but
if it doesn't, it means end of your cock.
No, but as an insult. Anyway, he basically called him a bellend. Yeah. That's how I read into it, and I'd be interested to see with all of the kind of, because there's a Ray Fisher love-in now, that he's got his own justice in this. I wonder if there's going to be pressure on that studio to maybe a Ray Fisher cut of the Flash film. Who knows? Could
interesting.
happen.
Very interesting. I'm fascinated by that Flash film. I think we'll have to see how that goes. I think tonally that will be an interesting watch. If it sits somewhere between this dark, gritty world and the CW Flash series, which is extremely camp, it's difficult to know where that's going to sit. That's where I think DC gets held back a little bit. I think it needs. I don't know. I'll be interested to see what happens out with John. That one concerns me. That feels like an Aquaman type vibe. Even though that was fine, and I love Jason Momoa, it's fine. It's just not going to be. It's going to be like a 70% film. You know. Right. So me and John were sitting here and we're thinking, right, when we originally did the Justice League podcast 2 years ago or whatever, we actually recorded one of the funniest things we've ever done. And we know a lot of you won't have heard it because it was early on in our production, and essentially we didn't have that many listeners. So we thought, what better way to treat you all than to just replay this amazing quiz that we did called, DC or not DC, all those years ago. Honestly, still brings me to tears listening to it now. We were going to try and make a new quiz, but I was like, look, that's fucking amazing, that quiz. I just want to play it again so I can laugh at it myself, to be honest with you. So we got a little treat for you. We're going to play that to play the episode out. So thank you, John, for being with me today.
Cheers, mate.
No worries. And thanks, listeners, for sticking with Zack Snyder, sticking with us all these years. And as a treat, here's young Len, young John, young Gaz playing DC or not DC. So guys, the way this game works is this one is going to be turn-based because I know how you two bicker over, who called out what first. So this is going to be turn-based, and what's going to happen is I'm going to name you a superhero that at some point or in any incarnation of the Justice League has joined the Justice League, okay? And all you've got to say is whether they're real or whether they're something that I have made up.
This is going to be terrible. Fucking hell. I have no idea about DC.
I'll say a character's name, like a superhero's name, and then you say DC or not DC, yeah? John. Animal Man.
I hope it's DC.
Is what you saying, DC?
I'm saying DC.
Correct. He is in the Justice League.
That is ridiculous.
That is mental. Who's Animal Man?
Guys, it's your turn next. Beetle Boy.
Have you just insulted him, or is that the question?
Are you going to give me the question?
What's your answer, Gaz?
Oh, far out. I mean, Animal Beetle Boy could be Animal Man's sidekick. Honestly, God, it can't be. I'm going to say not DC.
Correct. I made him up this morning. Beetle Boy is not real. Only in my mind. That's 1-1. That's 1-1 after round one. John, Dr. Dinosaur.
This is ridiculous. There's no way that can be true. That can't be true. I've got to say no.
So you're saying not DC?
Not DC.
Correct. I also made him up.
Dr. Dinosaur.
Doing really well so far, guys. Everyone correct. Okay, Gareth, your turn. Ambush Bug.
That's probably real.
Ambush bug.
Yep.
I honestly, right. It sounds. That is so stupid. There is no way. Len is never putting this to. He is never going. Ambush bug sounds like it could be I reckon that's got to be real. Because you're not making that up.
Okay, you are saying DC, is that correct?
I'm going to say ambush bug is DC.
Correct. He is in the Justice League.
Unbelievable.
Well, very well, guys. You've got 2 more each, and then we're done. So this is tied at 2-2. Very good. This is actually hilarious. John, Professor Plastic.
Hell.
Says recycle.
I'm assuming that Professor Plastic is surely he's an enemy of Aquaman. All the so I'm gonna say yes, DC.
I made him up this morning. Professor Plastic.
Uh-oh.
That gives Gaz the opportunity to lead. Okay, Gareth, here's yours to take the lead. Elongated man.
There's no way that's true.
I tell you what, that is ridiculous. However, I've actually heard of elongated man.
Fuck off.
I know for a fact that he's real. I know he's real, and I just don't know
He's in Marvel.
whether he's Marvel or DC. No, but the rule is it's either DC or Len's made him up, isn't it? So I've got
that is true. Yeah.
I've 100% heard of him, and he's ridiculous, I think. But I'm going to say DC.
Correct. He is a DC character. Elongated man.
All right.
That's so. I mean, that is awful.
Yeah. John, you need this to stay in the game, mate. Okay? Here we go. Tomorrow Woman.
Oh, fucking hell.
Brilliant.
Tomorrow Woman.
Correct.
Right.
I need a DC or not DC.
I am going to go DC.
Correct. DC.
Fucking hell.
Oh.
That is mental. I'm Googling Tomorrow Woman. That is mental.
So, Gareth, to win the game, no pressure. Sergeant Squid.
What? What on earth? What would his superpowers be?
And can he never get promoted either? Ridiculous.
Oh my god.
Always a sergeant.
Gareth, I need a DC or not DC.
And did he earn the name something, or like was he just given that? And it's like, well, you're only you work in a sales office, but we'll call you sergeant.
It's been court-martialed.
Oh.
Sergeant Squid. I'm sorry, that is something that they make up. Not DC. Come on.
Congratulations, Gareth. You've just won the inaugural DC or not DC. That is the question. Well done. Commiserations, John.
Boom.
I'm glad you guys enjoyed that game. That was DC or not DC. That is the question.